the checkbox check, right?
Fresh promise.
Okay.
This we go down.
Because this
It's like
parent
JavaScript.
The parent of it.
this is the next sibling. Yes, because I had in no, I because sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I'll go with-
It's fine.
Yeah. They just don't feel like.
So are we all here? We are missing one.
It's good to take a break because then when you come back, your coffee should be that extra.
What?
There's a guy sitting right here.
Body.
There's two out there. Yeah, of course.
Missing
I've
one?
got-
Take a break.
No, I didn't count.
I already drank in the morning.
I didn't count the Argentina.
Sometimes when you have too much coffee, you can't hold it.
Oh yeah.
So, any questions?
Not at the moment, maybe later.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
You're welcome. Anytime you have questions.
questions.
Like I'm mainly asking about something that is not clear now in this sense.
Remember to record.
Yeah, I'm recording.
Yes, okay, my file.
Curriculum today.
It was supposed to be lifting still or something like that.
We already kind of covered this last class. I don't think that's why.
Like this curriculum, it's kind of you cannot adjust. It's difficult to have like the same curriculum for everyone. For example, you are maybe faster, maybe other classes are slower. So sometimes I cover more, I explain more stuff. For example, the life cycle, I used to explain, like go through a lot of stuff when explaining life cycle. But last time it was so quick, you get it really fast. Maybe because of the example. Also, you are so fast to get stuff. That's clear. So that's the general curriculum. Like that's the minimum that we should cover, but doesn't really prevent us from trying to teach you more. In this sense, you know what I mean? So I could repeat props and state and do form today and on change and stuff.
Also, maybe checking out if we missed anything.
No, I will not miss. I've been like this is the fourth time teaching. Like the curriculum. This is why I need to cover. So until now we have this.
Forms.
So if you will say, what the fuck is happening? It's blocked. It's blocked. Yeah. So I will stick the delay again here. I will put the delay again, and you can see now because of the delay, we will wait actually for quite some time. So we want to display some like just loading. Okay, we will have like a loading component or something. So yeah, the first thing that I will try to do is, let's do the loading part. So the easiest thing you can check and say if the this dot props like if this dot length is like less than 1 or equal 0, it's loading.
Super cool. Actually, you can just check if it's true.
Yes, but this will create another problem. Let's say you will get from the API an empty result.
Okay.
You will say loading, but
Undefined, it will be like the length of undefined.
Are you recording?
yes, I'm recording. No, because we already like have like data here. It's initialized to be an array, so it will be 0. But let's say I got a result that it's an empty array, so this will be loading all the time. So it's not cool. So the crazy thing we can do is just stick property here called loading. Let's initialize it with false instead of true.
Why?
And in component debug we say this dot set state
Okay.
it's not
Why not just
that's one reason
Yeah,
that's
one-
one reason, but just to have like because like technically here am I loading here?
No. You're
No.
not.
This is what I'm trying to accomplish. But after that, you can actually test your application and see. But in the beginning, every time I'm loading. But maybe here you have some checks before. Maybe here, for example, you check if it's an admin and display pictures based on that. You know what I mean? So you say if it's if this .props .admin, you fire the request. Else you say you are not an admin, you cannot display pictures for you. You are not cool enough. You need to be an admin. Just an example. So you get the idea why I didn't initialize it with false? Because technically I still didn't the request by the constructor time. But it's valid. If you have like a simpler use case, you can put it like false. But just to get that, it's two separate things.
Yeah.
So here I would say loading is true. Okay. And here's I will say data and loading is false.
Slash.
Which slash?
The last false in
False.
line 16.
Where your cursor is?
LMA.
Sorry.
It should be true.
Follows. Exactly. خلاص, it's done.
Not fine.
Assume this
At least not
I know that
fine.
you didn't get the joke. But yeah.
I'm just playing it again.
You just need to learn a little bit of Arabic.
It's done.
خلاص means like it's like.
Alas.
Yeah. So so back we are false. There is no خلاص. There is false. So loading is false here. Okay. No, I really like some icons. I want to put them everywhere. Here, like I want to put a some icon here. Every end of line, I want to put some icon. So we are done downloading the pictures, and
Okay.
actually we have a loading state. So what we can do here is stick. So before doing this, we can stick a loading case. So we can say this dot state for sure. State dot dot loading. So if state dot loading and I can say can I do this? Yes, I can do it. Emit. Okay.
I prefer ternary, but even in the documentation, they are kind of advising to use this.
Yeah. Well, the better option is to actually have an if else kind of. If loading, if
Come on, that's so old. Nobody uses them anymore.
that's not true. I use a lot of if else. So maybe we will have loading now. Yes, loading.
And yeah.
And we have the
full
pictures.
cycle.
Cool a little bit?
What's the animation?
Man, it's not a web animations course. So you can actually, instead of doing this, you can put anything here. So let's do it like more professional. Let's say loading.
Okay, component. Very good.
It's like a loading component.
Okay.
And put a web animation, put a flying unicorn. It's your problem. It's not my problem. Rainbow colors. It's your problem. From,
Form.
well, just to be like, I'm super lazy. I would just like put it here. Function. Loading. Return H1. Loading. Okay. Loading, and we are boom. Let's do something now. Let's do something interesting. Let's refresh, go to network, and offline. We have loading. It's always loading. Failed. Because we have an internet problem. Okay? So we'll just do it again. No, it's because I'm disabling internet. So I would say it's loading now. Let's make it offline. Yeah. So it's a problem. Why? Because there is no internet. By the time that we are trying to do the request, there is no internet. Okay? Or let's do more realistic approach. Let's do let's say yeah, let's try to change the URL. Let's say here like there's a typo. Boom, failed to fetch. Okay, so we need to also catch the error, kind of. So here we can say catch. And we can say here error. We can just display the error. Console.log error. Failed to fetch, failed to fetch. Now we catch the error. Instead of showing a dummy like red screen, failed to fetch, we are at least catching the error. It's better. Every time there is done, you need to put a catch next to it. You should never just have done. Just optimistic, then. There's a lot of like ways where the catch can go. So you need to catch. So in the catch, we will say here set state. This dot set state. Okay, and we will say the first thing, we're not loading anymore. But we are not still displaying. So until here we covered like the use case that the initial load, we say loading. If it succeeds, we hide the loading, we show the pictures. The other part, it's loading. If there is an error, we hide the loading. We need to display feedback about the error. Okay? What I can do here actually is take another property called error. Let's say error, just, yeah, it's null. Okay? And here we can say error, problem, refresh. The dummiest error message ever.
Now evaluates defaults.
What?
Now evaluates.
Yes, yeah. So in JavaScript, null, undefined, and zero, and empty string. These are four things that evaluate defaults. Falsy. We call them falsy values. Null, undefined, zero, and empty string.
And zero.
Yeah, and zero. Yeah. I said like maybe I didn't. Yeah, but zero. Yeah. Because zero is false, like zero is false. yeah, yeah. So zero, null, undefined, empty string.
And array.
No, it's an object. So,
Not number.
None.
not a number is a number.
Really?
Yes, yes.
Isn't it false?
Yes.
I think you just write it
Not
false.
number is not
Not a number is a
It's
number. You can say number
So not a number is a number.
Yeah.
Okay.
dot because it's a number that defines not numbers.
Guys, 10 days they had to make JavaScript. Don't be so hard.
This might be an interview question.
Yeah.
Swear to God.
No, not number is the
So
only
nan
thing that doesn't
is
equal
not nan.
itself.
No.
I don't know, not number is not number.
I like
Not
these
number.
answers because JavaScript was maybe.
Yeah, type of nan is a number.
That's crazy.
It's a number that defines the non-numbers, but it's still
Oh.
part of them.
Oh,
It's like I'm part of you, but I'm just like I'm the guy who's defining that who is not numbers. kind of this.
Okay.
So it's a number that defines
Okay.
non-numbers,
Okay.
but it's a number.
Are they ever gonna capitalize the O on off?
No,
There's never.
no.
It drives me nuts.
No.
Someone will break.
Yeah, exactly. The whole web will break if they will do that. I will tell you something. It's funny, but do you know that undefined? Undefined. It's a variable. It's not a keyword.
What?
It's a variable undefined. Before you could do this, undefined equal hello.
But doesn't that break everything? So now
What?
everything.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
what?
But when you say undefined, it's an undefined. So undefined is just like a variable. So when you say window dot undefined, so it's just a variable on the window.
Oh, so it's a variable that could get assigned, but then gets unassigned again.
It's called non-enumerable variables. So you can say object. You can define property like use this. Whatever. There's a lot of shit in JavaScript that you need to be aware of.
We should have had this class last week. I would have got the job.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You'll be bragging. You're right. Do you know that? No, it's not too late. It was never too late. There's millions of companies, but there is only one, like you. Keep this in your mind.
We're gonna make an API with your motivational phrases, like to get one.
No, seriously, like there's a lot of companies, but there's a lot of developers too. At the same time. So, yeah, anyway. So here actually we can say this dot state dot error and error function error then return h1 style
Red thing.
background red no color red. So let's say here a message.
Don't you need to put a style in there?
Sorry. Start. And we can put message here. Okay.
What properties can you access in the error? Like you have a message.
This
Cold
Yeah,
start.
call-
There's error. There's cold start.
Okay, so you can put actually like the text of the error.
Yeah, but I don't want to do it. I just want to make this reusable so you can put it everywhere. So I would say here this dot state dot error. Okay. Problem refresh. Problem refresh. Cool.
cool.
It's up to you. You can have like a bootstrap like spinner here. It's up to you. It's really easy stuff. We don't do easy stuff here. We just do difficult stuff. You know, like handling logic and stuff. Yeah. Clear? Any questions about this? Like kind of. So you will find this pattern everywhere. The data, is it loading? Is there an error? You'll find this everywhere. In Redux, in React, in I don't know, like everywhere. Everybody like does this. There is data. Where you saw the data? If it's an error and if you are loading or not. Any questions? No? It took me a lot of time to understand this. I don't believe you. Like it took me a lot of time to understand. You're not that fast. No.
We had something similar in Node.
Okay.
Checking for errors.
Yeah.
Like that platform.
Like, are there any concepts that you're struggling with in terms of React, or like, are you like hungering for more real-world examples? Like,
I think that's a very good like approach.
Before we do that, I have one question.
yeah.
It's about
Right.
your conditional rendering down below. Right?
Yeah.
What? What?
What?
This error. This is the state that loading and loading.
Yeah. If the first one is true, then the second one will have to.
Okay.
Oh, got it.
You can think of
Do you get it? This one? If this true, we will run this.
So it's kind of
So-
like a ternary operator.
It's called shorthand evaluation. So let's say you say true and an object, it will return an object. But if you say false and an object, it will return false because it will stop at false. So how it works in JavaScript, if you have condition and condition 2, condition 1 and condition 2. So for an end to be true, you need both conditions to be true. So if this false, do we need to really run this?
No.
Even if we run it, it will be a waste of time because I know that it's false. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we will run this and we say it's false, we will never do this. And we can translate it by this false and, for example, hello. It will run this false, it will return false. But if we will make true, it will run true. So it will run the first condition. Now we need to double check the second condition so we can satisfy the end. And by running the second condition, we just return it.
So another question for this: will it return the last true part? Let's say if you strung together 5 of them, it will return the last one.
Because it needs to satisfy all of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, right. But
So an end is like, an end has like many clauses. So you can say this and this and this and this and so you need, for example, I don't know, like you need to have like 12 in mathematics and 13 in physics and 11 in English. So you need to satisfy all of them. If one of them is false, we just like stop running.
But I guess it's not like a design choice in React, right? It's just
It's JavaScript.
quirk that works.
Yeah, exactly.
Works
Yeah.
well for UI because like we want to render something, but like I don't think you would use it like in more backends. code.
No, it would be so
Right.
dangerous.
Yeah,
It would be so-
like I can't come up with a use case. So it's just
Yeah, we can do something. Imagine that we have a number here. Like, if we would put 0 here, for example, 0 it will be false. But sometimes 0 it's a number. Let's say you want to display the, let's say PayPal or Danske Bank. They have the account, and in your account you are unfortunate, and you have 0 in the account. Unfortunately, it's a bad example, but yeah, let's leave it. You have 0. And it's not really to demotivate you. You are saying like you are motivating. So 0 here it will count as false, even that it exists and it's something that we count for. So usually, like I see people really doing this. So if I will comment this, some people they do it really the hardcore way, and they say if. So we can actually do const this dot state, okay, and we can say loading and error and data. We can get all these values from the state. Is it clear? We are just distracting some from the state. So here I would say if loading, return loading. Okay. If error, return and we just say error here. Else, we don't need to say else. We can just chain another, or we can say here. Else if, else. We return this, and we remove this. Else, return this. I do it this way, at least in my day-to-day work.
But like previous and this is like totally different, right?
They run the same thing.
No, if you have like this and that at top, like
Yeah, in case of data, and here we are checking the data and stuff. Yeah.
no, if you like in this you have set array to like if there is a data then it will work in previous case. If you have like that.
Yeah, it will, because we were in the beginning we were running. You can see here that we are running the data even without any conditions. We are always running the data. But just because I know it's an empty array, so there is no problems. But here this is better. At least this is how it works in Apollo. If you use GraphQL, this is how they do it. So loading, error, else, return the data. Because now you are safe. Here you are safe that it's not loading and it's not an error.
Yeah.
So for sure I have the data. If it's not loading and it's not an error, there is no church like
nothing to do, but if instead of the if else, we just put if, it's gonna work the same.
Yeah, but it will be like too much evaluation. You
Okay.
need to evaluate all.
Unnecessary.
But here, like if the first one succeeds, it's done. Clear? Any other things? Like you were talking about, like if they have any problem or concepts. What?
The loading is true, then it says loading. But when the loading gets false, it re-renders
Yes. Every time something inside the state changes,
changes.
by calling set state, rerun.
If we have nothing else to do, can you show me an example of
We have a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, but yeah, I'm just saying that we will never actually get out of things.
Yeah.
We will always have stuff to discuss. But feel free.
Component will end it, and
And mount.
yeah.
Yeah.
We do another example of that.
That could be
So,
cool.
can we try and stick React Router now maybe?
So component will.
No,
Or it's too much?
Only 1 hour.
Next time.
Next time?
First thing next time.
Okay. First thing next time we'll talk about the router.
Component will mount. We should never ever use it again.
No.
It's gone.
That.
It's dead.
Component will mount.
It's dead. It's gone.
It's going. Well, it's unsafe now. If you see like React component will.
But any cases where you would use it, I think you just use the constructor, right? Because that's also a life cycle method. You can think of it as that,
And that
like the
runs.
constructor, right?
Yeah. So they call it. Sorry.
Yeah, like right when you start, like component will mount, or will mount is anyway just like before anything UI related happens, right? Which is what the constructor does. Like if you had to line them up in the timeline that we did last time, it's like constructor component will mount right after. Like there's no real difference, and I think they're removing it because people were using component will mount in like weird ways that were unsafe to their code.
And you can see here it's called unsafe dash. You can see here unsafe dash component. This is how you need to use it now.
That's a good naming.
So it's like
They even say it's to arrive.
yeah, they are saying in the document. Of course, it's not something I've said. Like usually I have opinions, but I never teach you my opinions
Come on.
because it doesn't make any sense. Everyone has its own opinions. I'm trying to kind of share the knowledge that the community is gathering. I can say this is not cool and this is cool and this is how you use it, but at the end it's my opinion. But there is the stuff that's recommended by the React and stuff. This is why I teach.
Does component will mount? That runs before the constructor, right?
No, after the constructor
After the constructor. Okay.
and before the render.
Yeah.
Okay, and there is even new like life cycle. For example, get derived state from props, get snapshot before updates.
What the hell?
These are new.
That React 17.
No, 16. Still didn't release 17.
Component update. That sounds useful.
Should component updates? We can stick should component update. So we can do should component update. So let's correct the error in the API. Okay. And let's say here, should component update. So we'll just say should component update. And in this actually lifecycle, you should return either true or false. Let's return false. It will never display anything. You know why?
That stops the render from firing, right?
Let's
No, because you don't.
just second. Let's do something interesting. Before here we are saying return state. Let's check here. Let's say if else if data, and here let's say data. If data.length is less than 1, return empty data. Okay. So if we will return false here, what does should component update really means? It literally it said it should component update, should your component update, and here you will do some calculation. So this is actually the only way on how to optimize the React components. So let's say you have a component that it's you pass a lot of props to component, okay? And these props maybe are not used. Maybe 2 of them are used or 3 of them are used. The others are not used. So in should component update, you say if this dot, I think it takes the next props.
Next props and next state.
Yeah. It next prop and next state. Next props, next state. Is it the right order?
Yeah. Yes.
Is it right order?
Yeah. Next state.
Oh, sure. So here, what you can say, for example, like you can say if this dot props, yeah, like my current props. So this should component update will give you, for example, React will schedule an update, and it will say this is the new props that you are receiving, and you already have your props, and you can say if you can say some calculation, and you can say if I should update or not. So
If the length, for instance, of the previous props is
maybe you can say if this props dot or maybe if this dot state dot loading
okay.
is different than this dot state.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry, next state, like the next state, the next updated state. Dot loading. Return true means update. Else return false. So this will check and say if the loading is different, update. Otherwise, just don't update.
Okay.
So you can have a lot of checks here to optimize your components and only update for the relevant stuff that you are interested in. So this is how you optimize a React component, is using the should component update.
Wait, but
So if you are thinking about React will render everything, this is your opportunity to optimize React.
wait, but in order to get the next state, it's like a new component did mount had to run before that.
No,
No?
component did mount, it will run for the first time. But it will, whenever the component update, there is
Ah,
component did update.
Did update, okay, there's a new one. A new one.
So you can say here,
It will run several times in their component's life, right?
Yeah.
Like every time state or props changes, it will check here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice, nice.
so let's say component did update. Console.log.
But it doesn't run on the first render.
No.
No.
Cool.
So let's say did update. Did update. When we had the data did update. So whenever there is an update inside the state or the props, and we will update, React will update the state, React will call this. So this is your opportunity to do something before the update. Or did update, after the update, sorry, after, did update. So this is did mount after the first time your component mounted. This will happen every time your component get updated.
So we can
These, sorry?
It's just like we can use like even in simple components. It doesn't have to be like complicated with every time the API changing data.
Maybe we can do that.
Because I was thinking about the to-do list.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, because when you check in to item, it changes. And then it was rendering, like I talked to Zoe, and it was rendering the whole list instead of rendering only the item.
Yeah.
So,
Because we get new data, kind of.
yes.
But it's really, you can,
It was like you use like push animation, so you use push to like completely like change the area. So
I'm-
did you get it?
I'm thinking about this. You could have
You
the
created like new area every time.
new error,
array.
a new array, yeah, you create a new array every time, yeah.
Using push like or something.
It would be nice.
But as long as you're calling set state, it's updated. So it will be
Pass by reference.
What?
Set state
Where
is
it is passed by reference.
Yes.
You can just put in the same value. It will still be rendered.
So you could keep track
The whole
of like the history in a parent component, and each time you're updating, you like give a copy of the last
You can do
state,
that.
you know, and you're keeping track. I don't know why we do that, but
Yeah, you can do that. But this is React like saying if you want to, this is your opportunity to say to me, I don't want to update.
I don't want to update.
You know,
But it's hard to come up with a real world example, right?
where yeah.
I think the famous example actually is Just a second. Let's say Zalando. I don't know if you know Zalando.
Yeah.
Well, they are really a big reactor. Let's say women clothes.
Oh.
Okay. I don't know. It's random. Like so. Yeah. This is an example. Let's say this is like stored. These all products they are stored somewhere in array. So there is an array that has like product picture, product name, and product. It's not. It's like product name and but it's so much confusing the women's clothes. Like I would just go with like men's clothes. Like I saw it was wearing like everything at the same time.
But it's the same. I don't
It's the same. It's the same. It's the same. Okay, let's get back. Sorry for being sexy. Okay, just to be happy. Like I wanted to do a good initiative and start with the women clothes. Let's get back to the women clothes. Okay. So yeah. So for example, here you have a product, or you have a woman. I don't know. And there is like the picture.
Show
There is
us
the
in the console. Maybe we can see in the. Maybe it's gonna be amazing.
oh they use context. So yeah.
No?
Speaking of the context, aren't we going to talk about, for example, mopeds?
No. I updated the repo. You didn't see the new update.
That's why I couldn't find it.
Like
anymore.
the thing, like I discussed with so many people about Mobex. No one in Copenhagen is using Mobex.
My company.
You are using Mobex? So one company in Copenhagen is using Mobex. No, like we are really trying to get something from the market. And maybe if you agree, do you talk with any developers there using Mobex? There is, but the mainstream thing here is either React standalone or Redux. So we are not really also like a big fan of just teaching you. And you will be like left with the technology that no one is using it. I know, but no one is using it. I still.
Something we can consider is maybe the last time we can't choose any of these and like teach it in one day. I think, but we can maybe talk about the problems that it solves and when to start using it.
We're gonna make
Like do some high level
a word for the most
Also,
stuff.
like, also the form is also in today's curriculum. Are we going to talk about that?
What?
Forms.
We
I think-
kind of went through it last time.
We can't. We want to.
Actually, okay.
You want more?
No, no. You want like? Can you give us an example? Like,
No, I just want to know like what you like. For example, what do you use for like handling forms? Because it's quite important.
Yeah.
And there is like control component.
That will be covered last lesson.
what?
I witnessed.
Sorry. What did you say?
Control.
We did this like.
It's like illegal if you just open a project that you're working now on.
Yeah, it's illegal.
Okay. Just checking.
He's not working on this one.
I'm not working on Zalando.
That's not.
No, of course. No, I'm saying it would be nice to see a real life project. You know.
See all the bad habits that we have.
Yeah, exactly. So
But in terms of forms, like we did controlled components last time, right? We also did forms basically, like a button and an input field.
Yeah, I'm sure what
Like super simple, right? But it's all you do. Like you make inputs or form components.
Yeah.
How about like having multiple inputs?
Yeah.
So,
You do the same thing, right? You have an input. You have two inputs. They both have like an input handler, or like an event handler, event and event handler, and you save it in the state. And then once you want to submit, you just take the state for each.
He uses the date and time.
it's
And in his code, you see the input and the date data. So
Yeah.
that's true.
And then
And
multiply
put it in
it.
the state.
Because for forms, the major part is actually the validation.
Oh,
That's why I want to ask, like, for example,
How
what
would you do
kind of tools,
yeah.
are you using? Maybe you can just like give us a little bit like
Yeah.
introduction so we can, for example, read at home, whatever.
Yeah.
Because the validation is really handling form with the validation in React is a headache.
Yeah.
I was having like 3 days like headache.
Yeah. Okay.
3 days.
Yeah, but there is a lot of form solutions. Like the simplest thing is we already have a form, so we have like the text and we have the date. And whenever, for example, you want to add or log in, you just say you get it from the state. We already discussed that. You know what I mean? So we have like 2 inputs, 3 inputs, 5 inputs, 10 inputs. You store them all in the state, and whenever you click a button, you just say like this dot state dot date, this dot state dot name, this dot state dot first name. You collect them all in an object and you send them to the backend. This is the simplest thing. But if we, for example, like talk about validation, let's say validation, we will introduce more stuff. For example, each input now will not become just a string. Each input will become, for example, an object that has like loading, is valid, stuff like
I
that.
was doing that. It's super inefficient. It's like a state will be a huge like object.
Yeah.
Like each input will be like a huge object because you need to check like it's patched, it's valid.
You can also like break these components and make them like I kind of use I don't know like I use like it's really I told you like I really try to avoid like opinionated like talks because like depends on your like so I use like Recompose for that. So with Recompose you can actually have just like a component, a dummy component. So for example, if you want a counter, you don't need to wrap it in a class. You can say with state counter, set counter, and 0, and it will counter. So you can actually create small states for each input. And after that, the parent will just pass a callback, and whenever you want to update, all the children will report to the parent. This is my state. This is my state. This is my state. But each component will handle its own state.
Okay.
Each input has its own like is valid, is running, is something. And also like you can use Formic or something.
I tried, but it didn't work.
I actually I go with the
documentation to read.
yeah I go with the plain React web, and I use context API by the way, so I can have inputs really down the tree and the user of the inputs really up, so I don't need to pass all the props down.
What's up with this context?
Yeah. So let's get back to this. So this is for example Zalando, and they have cards here. So when you hover and you leave, when you hover it will change. So you can see here that when you hover, this is becoming true. Is overlay visible? False. True. False. True. False. So they have state. If the mouse is inside, make it true. If the mouse leaves, make it false.
Okay, but on the hover image error, if there's an error in the
No idea. No idea.
Can you scroll this one, or is it only 3?
It's only 3 state things.
Okay.
For example, you can say full width. You can have it like full width, smaller. And you can say article like Rybook Classic stuff is premium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all this is actually stored in the in an array or an object of called products. And each product, it's an array of products, and each product is an object that has a picture, a price, and a name.
Why are you using array and not an object?
I don't work in Zalando. I'm saying this. Maybe there is an object. Maybe they use a map. I don't know. But I'm just saying that they have a collection. Okay, let's call it a collection of stuff, an array and object, and they render. One thing, for example, let's say if you update this one. Okay, if you update this one. So you need to update the array of all products. Okay? If you update just this one, you need to go to the array of products and update it. Let's say you add the picture or change the picture. That means that you need to run the loop again so you can display all these products. Because the array that is responsible for all these products is just one array. So whenever you want to change picture, you go to inside that array and change it. So that means that you need to run everything. So this component can actually have a component did mount and change. Did my picture change? Did my title change? Did my price change? I will skip this time. You know what I mean? So if you have an array on stuff and you render them like this kind of...
Are there any like downsides regarding choosing React as a framework? Because now everything I see is like I mean, it's not maybe using React, but it's like everything should use React, in my opinion. Now, it's like
This is
easy.
really opinionated question. So I don't know if Anas has something regardless of that, but it's an opinion, at least according to me. Or about
Yeah, like it's very religious.
yeah.
But I mean,
maybe at least, right?
Yeah.
but there are like compatibility issues, maybe.
What do you mean by compatibility?
You know, like old browsers can't really manage it, or
Because they're all using Babel, then like
so
Yeah.
yeah, there are no issues. with
But
that.
there is no why I said an opinion, because there is no kind of there is no clear winner. There is no framework that has a major thing that the other framework doesn't have. So you cannot say, oh, this framework is bad because of X. You cannot say this.
Okay.
So all the frameworks, they do all the good stuff. They learn from each other. They develop new stuff. So React maybe now with hooks and with like suspense and stuff, they are really going crazy with a lot of new stuff. But still, it's not really like there is no framework that cannot do all what the other frameworks can do. It just they do stuff differently.
it's also like if you want to choose a backend technology, you also have a lot to
Ah, shit, that's
choose
crazy.
in between, right?
Yeah.
And like some will say that Python is slow
Okay.
and C++ or C# is faster as a backend.
Yeah.
But some will say that Python is easier to write, so you'll write faster. And maybe you just deploy some more servers so that you're just as fast. Like, yeah, it's
It's like this. Or like I don't know. Just choose a framework.
Maybe it's because it's so far the only like proper framework that I'm learning. So in my opinion, it's like everything looks quite easy to do in that way. I mean, I imagine like doing the Zalando thing with creating elements. You know, like it should be like quite a mess. Yeah, I mean, React it seems like.
With the typical React site, on the first page, let's say the index of the app page, is it typical that there would be like 500 different imports?
What do you mean?
Like, for our sites, we're only typically importing maybe 2 or 3, 4, 5 things max. But on say a site like this, would they have?
Maybe you have an import that also. So maybe you have 5 imports, and each one of these imports import 5 other things inside it.
Yeah, that's what I started doing because I noticed my import list is getting longer and longer.
Yeah, we will also discuss like the lazy importing, lazy loading. So these are really opinions that depends from project to the other.
but yeah, they will be long. Like in
Yeah.
complex components, you will have a lot of
Yeah.
imports.
Even if you have 200,
Not
it's
a
fine.
problem.
More and more packages.
Or you just have more and more components.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a topic.
Yeah, me too. I'm just throwing out.
We're doing that.
That's like, how do you decide like this data will be like props, I'll pass it that, and this will be like state.
Like I discussed this, that if something is related to rendering, I would put it in the state, because every time that piece I change, I want to re-render again. Like the data, like the loading, like the error. Any of these properties, if it will change, I want to re-render again. So state is the good candidate. This is my experience, at least. I don't know if what Anders like has, regardless of
I'm
this.
just trying to remember if there's like a good way to like do it in
No,
one
when I
sentence.
really like it's about like UI, like then we put on like state.
It's about UI, it's about performance. Sometimes you want to lift state up, but the more you lift it up, that means if that state changed, it will impact a lot of stuff.
Like if it's over, like and that kind of if you can't then we put like on a state like over false.
Yeah, like hover, I will keep it inside the component that I'm hovering, for sure.
Yeah, status if it's only
Relevant to that component.
that component or components under it, right? Because you might have state in one component that is props in a lower component. Because the lower component depends on the state in the upper component. And maybe more lower components depends on this upper state. Maybe it's like a logged-in state. Like you might want to display different stuff in there when someone is logged in and hide it otherwise. So it's there's not a true and a false, right? But do you have like an example where you were in doubt of when if it should be state?
No, it's like really like hard.
Yeah.
Like decide like same.
Yeah. Yeah, like this, there is. If you are like asking for a clear answer about this, you will never find answer. It depends on your application. Sometimes the hover state is really important. Maybe the hover state is like responsible for buying stuff, or you know what I mean. So it depends. Like, but usually try to keep state as low as possible. As low as possible. Don't like because the more you push it up, the more it will impact their performance in a really bad like sense. So let's move on. Let's actually. I will introduce more. So now it's really simple. Just think I will make the pictures like a little bit smaller. So
Not in CSS, is it better to do it inline or do it through
Oh.
different
no, don't do it inline.
Nothing?
Well, yeah, it's an opinion.
Okay.
A lot of people they are big fan of inline, but I don't see any value of inline. But some people they fight and say there is lower.
You don't do.
Like it's up to you. Like if your company do like it's really like company to company. But mostly I don't see a big thing why you should do inline. You know what I mean?
If you use like you can use that variable.
Yeah, but you can use also like CSS variables. So like,
Like CSS variables is not like powerful like JavaScript.
but you can actually hook CSS variables to JavaScript through like document. You can say document and write CSS like variables. You can manipulate CSS variables from using the browser or JavaScript API. So it's really like an ongoing discussion, but just start simple. Start with the CSS file. Don't try to like overcomplicate stuff. No, just because I don't want to jump to other files. So now I will just like add so I will say class. Oh, I will just add class to the Giphy instead. So I will say the oh, I forgot the UL here. So I will just there was a UL here. So I'll say class X list class name. Yes. Okay. And I will say style.css. I can say let's say background red just to see if it's working. Technically it's not. Interesting, it's not working at all. It's not showing even the let's just index. What? What?
It's an API, yeah, man.
What? What did he say?
The Giphy API is
Logging spacing.
Yeah.
You need to.
I need what? It's in the
Was it because it was under the console?
styles
S.
styles with S.
they
Red, is it red? Is it red? Yeah, I can see it's red. You just can't see, I can see. I will remove this. And I will indexes. Yeah, I'm using class name. Oh, image is not defined. Interesting, yes. Because I need this. Just because
Oh, my eyes.
super beautiful. Super beautiful.
Should be a fun.
Oh, display flex. And it's going this way, yeah. Oh, it's going
This is an ad
much better somehow. And we give them like so I will say dot pick list height. Let's say height it's 200 pixels. Sorry, It's the ally. Scooty Bundy. Yes,
You should probably remove
Marvin.
those from the last.
You will have that.
Yes,
Text decoration.
margin 0, padding 0. List style
Oh, this is
type, I think.
Yeah, list outside.
nice.
Yes, I remember my CSS.
There's the dog, man. Look at that poo with the wig. Beautiful.
Okay. Okay. So now I will actually, instead of using the trend API, I will have an input, and whenever I type in the input, I will fetch new data, new fresh data that matches the input. So if I will type dog, I will fetch Giphies that is related to dog. Okay. The first thing that we need to add is an input here.
Yes, sir.
So here we will have the we put it here. So now this is like a clear example. Like we will lift the state up now. Okay. Why? Because I want to introduce an input, and that input will actually fetch new data.
Mhm.
It will be responsible for fetching data.
Yes.
Means like there is component that's rendering another component, and the state is here. I will lift it up to the parent component. Okay. So I will make the is it the index? Yeah, I will make this function class. Do you agree, Anas? Like I'm trying to remember. I've said the I will have the an input here. So when you type, it will fetch again.
Yeah.
And we could put it in the Giphy.
Yeah.
And we can like put an input here, but it will be kind of a bad idea because this is a Giphy component. Or do you think it's fine?
Yeah, make a for the search thing.
Yeah.
Make a separate one, right?
Yeah, we'll make a separate component. And do you think we should put it here, or we should extract this and make it in the up component? Because otherwise, we need them to communicate.
That would probably be nice because that's we haven't really shown that.
No, so let's make this up.
Yeah.
Okay, so this component is a stateful component that it's using state. We will make it like consume props instead of state, and extract the component outside. So the first thing I will just like convert this index to a class. Extends React dot component, and we will have a render. Okay.
I guess this is also an example of props versus state, or which is the wrong way to say it, but
Yeah.
it's like something that was state before is now going to become props because two components depend on this. So we're going to lift it up,
Yeah.
and it becomes state in an upper component, and then it just becomes props in lower components.
So let's try say input here. Type equal text. Okay. And we say value. We have it controlled component, so we need a value from the state. So we will say constructor props super props this dot state equal, let's say input var. Let's make it more descriptive. Let's say search term. Okay. It will start with an empty string. Here we will say const equal this dot state, and we will take search term. Clear? Search term. On change. We need the change handler. So let's say change search term. and we needed this before.
I thought we couldn't do it like that. We can do equals this dot state, this dot set state, const search term on line 18.
On line 18,
We just say that.
I just want to take the value. I don't want to update. I just want to say like give me the current like state. But if I want to update the state, yes, I need to use the set state function. But now I'm just reading give me the current state. But I'm not updating or anything. It's the same as using this dot state dot search term.
I don't remember why you are creating a new variable for the search term instead of just putting it inside the value.
You can say this dot state dot search here,
Yeah.
but it's just too big.
Okay, perfect.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's simpler to do this. And we will say search term handler. Like I advise about something, just do this. If you have an input that it's simple, just do this. Just do like event this dot set state search term event dot target dot value.
Oh, that's good.
I just like suggest to do it this way. When you have, you know that it's just like an on-change. It's not having any logic or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's called lambda function.
No, no. It's called lambda function in Java, but not here. No, this is just called an arrow function. This is just an arrow function.
I would do this as well, but in this won't do the thing where like, because I guess this won't cause a re-render, right?
It will cause like every time actually you render again, they don't change because we have a simple input component, but we cannot do should component update for an input component. It will always render.
Yeah.
So it's cheap, kind of.
Yeah.
So
Can you re-explain this? I didn't understand it.
we are just like saying this, so to set state we are changing the search term.
But like from the beginning of the, like just go through from the top. Done?
Yeah, we are having like a state here.
Mm-hmm.
It's an empty state, and we pass the value here. And whenever you type, the on change will fire, and we put the new thing that we typed in the state again. This is dot set state even dot target, which is the input dot value. It will be search term. So we update the search term to be this one, to be the new value that you type every time.
And so we're doing the control component again, right? Like last time with like circular one-way information. Like the input shows whatever is in the state, and every time you search type in the input, it updates the state. So like just it's controlled rather than just if we just type in the value in the input field without setting the state, then we don't really have control over it.
Yeah.
We can extract it, but like we don't have like complete control over what is what.
You need always to say like jQuery or like the DOM. You say input dot value and such. So you need to always like keep reference to the input, and it's not cool. You can just like extract it too.
You said this was using props instead of state.
It will be, right?
It will be, but just keep it simple. Just like don't like say in the future it will be. You know what? Just keep it in the current.
So what?
Synthetic event.
That's but I never call it that.
Yeah, it's called an event. Yeah, like, these like sensitive event and fiber and like it's really internal stuff that we developers don't really care about. Cool. So now if we will open this, we have like an input somewhere. Yes, it's here. So let's just say just say input. Let's say font size. Say 20 pixels. Kind of better.
Why?
Clear? And we can actually, yeah, so what we need here is, let's say another button. It's called the search button. So let's say button. Okay. Search. on click this dot click handler. Just this and okay. Console.log click.
Just something.
Should you also bind it?
I still didn't mention this inside it to bind it. We will eventually bind it if we need. Clear?
Yeah, the one thing I remember from the homework that doing it this way instead of wrapping everything in a form tag, then you have problems clearing the input after you search for it. Or I don't know how you can handle it actually.
Let's see. We're probably gonna have to handle it.
Yeah. So let's see.
Okay.
Because it's super simple.
That's
Instead of having it in state, you can just
Yeah.
set the state and then it'll click.
So let's you can say like super simple. Super
no,
simple.
no, but clearing the value of the input, not the value that you are keeping track on the state.
But
see what I'm going.
But you should never actually keep like the value in the state should reference the input. So if you want to clear the input without clearing the value of the state, that means that something is wrong in your application because they are coupled together.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So if there is like a case where this, so if you need the input if you need the value inside the state without the input, that means that you should not like link them together. Because the only thing that why this thing exists is to hold the state of the input. If this should exist and have a value that is different from the input, it should not exist.
I remember like clearing the value of the state. It was actually clear, but in the input I could still like see the previous value. Whatever.
Let's say every time you click, I will say search term to this. Please, are you following with me?
But you have this.
So hello, search.
But the input is
Yeah, no, just think we have problem with the binding. So just bind it. This dot state. Sorry, it's this dot click handler. Equal this dot click handler dot bind this. So you type, you clear. You type, you clear.
Why I was having some.
You just say this. I don't.
Do you remember what you tried to do?
I tried to use like on like
Yeah.
No,
but now like I can see like okay I can set the state.
forget. Like you forget about that there is an input. You just know that there is a string here. Search term called string, and the input will actually reference this. So whatever you do here, it will be there. You forget about the DOM. You always have like your state and stuff. This is how you should think.
I was having like serious issues.
Yeah.
Doing
Clear?
But this makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's simple, right? Yeah. That's totally normal to try and overcomplicate something.
Yeah.
Like,
Like I remember learning React. It's disaster, so it's fine. So yeah, so now every time actually you click the button, we want to take what's inside the search and fetch the new thing. So we need the same thing of loading an API and stuff. So instead of putting it inside here in the Giphy, I will just take it and extract it to an up, like to the top component. So I will take this, remove the state from here. I will put it in the state. Okay? So instead of fetching inside the Giphy component, we will fetch inside the index component, the app component. And we pass the result to the Giphy component. So here in the component did update, we'll just remove it. Component did mount, we don't need to fetch here. We can just fetch in the index. And we import this one. Okay, we remove the constructor from here, we don't need it anymore. So now instead of taking this stuff from the state, we'll take them from props. Okay? But we need to pass them. So here I will render the Giphy. I need to provide the component, the other stuff. So I will say loading, error, and data. So I will say loading equal loading, error equal error, and data equal data. And it's working. At least I hope. It's working. Is it clear what I did now?
Yes.
So this component now, it's really simple component. Clear? Please clear, or it's complex, or I don't know. Feedback. So here now I'm just consuming the stuff from the props. So another component is responsible for doing all the logic and just passing me these three values, which is this component. So just like moving the state to another component, moving the logic with it, and passing the props to. Can you see here? Any questions? Is it clear, or it's overcomplicated, or?
The same like mine.
Yeah. Okay. What about the others? Is it clear?
It's a little complicated.
Yeah, I mean,
You have to try out.
But just to see that I just like moved the stuff, and now the Giphy is consuming the props instead of the state. So I'm passing my state to the prop. Yes.
So like we just have to when moving this state to current from file components, we just have to know about our application that going to move.
Yeah.
This
Yeah. You need to be aware who's consuming the state and what you need to pass to him and stuff. So now, if
I don't understand how you wrote const there. Rick was highlighted.
What?
Line 35. I don't understand how you wrote const. How you wrote that variable.
it's called the structuring.
Okay.
So it's like saying. So if you have like let's say v equal user, and the user has a name. Let's say Yunus. Okay. So instead of saying v.user.name, you can say like this. I would put a var here instead of const, as you like. This it's v. So you can say give me the user from the v. So it will take the key from this object, which is user. So now user will be this inner object.
Maybe also in the code, just if you would like find variables for each one,
Yeah.
then you would write like
Yeah, you can say
search item.
search term equal this dot state dot search term.
That's the first one. I don't need to do it for the 2, 3, and 4 also. This is just like a new way in JavaScript.
Is it clear a little bit? Just like getting variables from an object.
Is it a reference or a copy when you disrupt?
Depends if it's a reference or a copy.
No, I mean when you do this with
If this
console.
is a boolean, it will be a value. If this is an object, it will be
Oh
a
no, I meant
reference.
when you the object, is it a reference to the object or does it make a copy? So when the object changes, does it what's it called?
If this is an object, if loading was an object, it will be a reference of the object.
Okay.
Like you never copy objects.
Okay.
I don't think JavaScript does that. Yeah, just a second. You wanted to say something?
I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
So I mean, I really like the structuring, but like I have a question. I want to know if it's feasible.
Yeah.
I'm sending you the code. In the book.
If it's something, we can discuss it after the class probably.
It's also about the structuring. Because I was trying to do it and I failed.
Yeah. So what you can do here? Maybe you can do like this. Sorry. I will copy the code again. I'll just paste it here. You can put it here. You can say object. Does this help you?
No, for example, like I have two.
No, object B is all the properties from object.
Yeah, but like, what if like the structure is slightly different? And I still want to kind of allocate the data from A to B. Is there any
It's
way?
it's allocating the data from A to B here. It's copying the
Yeah,
data.
because that's because I give her like directly the same structure. What if like it's slightly different? For example, like maybe the name is different.
You can say, for example,
For example, the name is not name. It's in object B.
Yeah.
Let's
let's say here it's first name,
yeah.
and you wanted to say name under it. So here, technically, you cannot destructure because destructuring takes. You can maybe do this, but it will be too much. Like doing this, like.
What?
It's kind of too much. No, object is already been declared. Yeah, it's B is already been declared. And I will say it object C. But it's really complex.
Okay.
So I prefer to say like name equal object A dot first. It's so much clearer, so much better. You don't need to overhack stuff.
Guys, can we look over the homework? Because for what I've been seeing, it's pretty much the same with
Yeah,
it
looks good.
last time.
Yeah.
Just let me finish this. Give me just 5 minutes. So now let's try like whenever you fetch, you type dog, you type here, it will search for dogs in the Giphy.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay, so now let's get back to the code. And here, in the click handler, before setting the searcher, we'll say const search term equal this dot state dot search term, and we clear it. So we copy it and we clear it. Okay. After that, what I'm gonna say is like the same thing here, but instead of saying get Giphy, I will create another function here called search Giphy page, and it will not this URL. It will say URL 2, okay. And in the Giphy developers, you can say documentation. I hope it will not have the same problem as before. So search endpoints. So yeah. So you can do like this. So you can do like this. Instead of saying trans, you say you say like this, and you say API key, but you also need the queue here, and you say the end. Okay, but you need to construct this dynamically. So here we will say URL2, and this we will pass from the component, the search term that we type, we will pass it here, and we will say search. We'll say just search. Okay, and we will pass it here. And we are here and say instead of get Giphy, we get another one called search Giphy fix. And it's the same code here, almost. Just you say this, and you pass the search term, and it's the same thing. But before, we also need to say the that we are loading again. And we can group these two. I know it's kind of fast, we can. So if we type hello, I don't know if it will work. Yeah, so we have. That's it. Just so let's clear here. If we search, yes, it works. So let's say programming.
Yeah.
No, you promised me dogs, man.
There was a dog.
Dogs?
That dog was a
Dogs.
Yeah, look at all that. Oh, now only books.
Books.
Books. Okay, what books, man?
Is it clear?
Yeah.
What we have just did.
The homework. We need to work on that. I mean, like,
Is it clear?
Yeah.
You have any question about this? Of course, yeah, for sure. You are more than welcome to ask after, but just now you're fine. I will just review it really fast. Matthew, are you with us? And did you lose us a little bit? Or?
Yeah, I was just trying to read through these structures.
Okay, so you can see here that when you click, sorry, please. When you click, it's the same thing. We actually get the search term, we set loading to true, and search term we just remove it from the input. But we already have the search term in a variable, the old one. And we do the API call again. And when we get the API call, we set the data and we set loading false. Otherwise we set error problem and loading false. Of course it's not super clear, but just to get the structure. But we are almost doing like the first one. Clear?
Yep.
You can get the code here. Let's put it again. Okay, so the code is here if you want to check it out. The homework. Hacker Future React.
Sorry.
No, it will be 4.
Oh,
Yes.
that's a good.
Yes, because you're already done with 3.
Perfect. It was pretty much the same one.
Exactly. So you will do the homework 4. So this is the homework.
Are we on 4 already?
No, because 3 it was about form and stuff, and you already got a really good grasp of props and stake. Of course, that doesn't mean that it's done. We will not repeat again. As long as you will exercise and you will find more problems, you can bring down, and we can talk about like stuff. Okay? So the homework is almost the same as the last one that I did, but instead you will. Yeah. Just a second.
So guys,
So,
the extra assignment in the week 3 homework seems quite cool.
Yeah.
So, like chat up and
Like
the coding by these things in React. Seems okay. Yeah, sorry.
so the homework would be doing the same as this one. But instead of searching here, so you will search, but not searching for images, you will search in the GitHub API. So you will type something, you don't need keys and stuff for the GitHub API. So you will just search and it will display the GitHub users. So when you type YO, you will cite you will search and bring all the users that their names include YO. Is it clear? The structure is almost the same. This is technically the homework.
Perfect.
Let's wait until it's a bit quiet. Otherwise, I can't do it. Yes, I'm gonna stand up.
Yours?
Yes,
Do you know who does what's called React support.env files?
What?
Does it support .env files? I know it uses Webpack, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that support env?
No idea.
Okay.
No idea. I don't know. Like usually, I use code sandbox just for
Oh no,
quick
I mean
demo.
React in Node. I tried at one point because I tried to do something with API key as well.
Yeah.
You know, with other projects, in Node I make .env file.
I agree. Yeah, I do the same. I do the same.
So
Yeah, that's important apparently.
But you can just put them in JavaScript and keep them away with
just another file
get
that I
ignored.
get ignored. Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the simplest version. But yeah, I agree. Like
It's just to use.
Oh yeah, so you just make the file and then what's called process.env dot then the
Whatever.
design and then you can exit the whole file.
Perfect.
So we have to go before one.
In Node that worked. I couldn't make it work in that.
Okay. Now I'm going to school around
Why does you have
from Wednesday to Friday. So
I mean, it doesn't make sense, like in reality, to use it in the front of the certain mechanics of what you just do when you develop.
You know, like we are reading those, so
Monday, Tuesday, I'm free.
Spend a lot of time.
that man. You got like an Thank you guys.
Monday, Tuesday, only Monday, Tuesday. And Saturday. Monday, Tuesday, Saturday. It's 3 days.
What's left over on the table?
I need to ask.
A lot of things.
Good question now.
I can that.
Sorry, this value right here. This we're all
نشوفك. سلام. See you.
Yeah, that's also British. That usually means we can.
But why it's very left?
That's
Those brackets.
that's at the end. How's that? Then he does it before.
This one
Depends on if he does it
I want to
before
show
or after.
when I have something in book, when what explains, I don't understand what I
This is modular.
yeah. What you're saying is this value should be from this value. You got here, from this big value, which is empty, and from the inside.
This has to go.
Empty inside.
It's a member with that.
On the right hand. So if you say hello here, so hello. From the beginning. When you say unchanged, it says
We're doing V4.
What? Yeah, you are doing it for yeah. We already discussed.
Okay. So what are you trying?